Hi, and welcome to the video on zero index. By the end of this video, you should know how to work with powers of zero. So let's take a look. What does it mean to be a power of zero, and how do we work it out? Well, I want to start off with looking at 2 to the power of 4, power of 3, power of 2, power of 1, and then power of 0, and looking for a pattern. So 2 to the power of 4 is 16, 2 to the power of 3 is 8, 2 to the power of 2 is 4, 2 to the power of 1 is 2, and then what's 2 to the power of 0? Well, looking at the pattern of the blue numbers, we notice that the powers are being subtracted by 1 each time. And if we look at the green numbers, we can see that these numbers are being halved or divided by 2 each time, which means that our last step should be to do 2 divided by 2 to get 1. So in this case, 2 to the power of 0 equals 1. Great. We have the answer for one power of 0, but what about all the others? Well, let's look at another pattern. Let's look at the 3's. Same thing, I'm going to look at the powers of 4, 3, 2, 1, and then 0, and then I'm going to look at the answers. So 3 to the power of 4 is 81, 3 to the power of 3 is 27, 3 squared is 9, 3 to the power of 1 is just 3, and so what's 3 to the power of 0 going to be? Well, again, if I look at the patterns of the blue numbers, my powers are going down by 1, they're decreasing. If I look at my green numbers this time, I'm actually dividing by 3 each time. So my last step should be to do 3 divided by 3, which again is 1. And in fact, this pattern holds for absolutely any number that we know. The last step will always be, when we're going from a power of 1 to a power of 0, is to divide the number by itself. And this leads us to our rule, that any number to the power of 0 equals 1. And this is not to be confused with numbers that are being multiplied by 0, because numbers that are multiplied by 0 give you an answer of 0. 3 lots of 0 is 0. 5 lots of 0 is 0. But when we're talking about powers, 3 to the power of 0 is always going to be 1. So let's look at a couple of examples and see how they differ and how the questions will change. I've got 2 questions here. I'd like you to try and pause the video and think about what you think the answer is going to be. Alright. Now the rule is any number to the power of 0 is going to be 1. So 10 to the power of 0, that's going to be 1, and 250 to the power of 0 is also going to be 1. Any number to the power of 0 is 1. Let's look at example 2. These look fairly similar. They both have a negative and a 5, but one has the negative 5 inside the bracket to the power of 0, and one has the negative outside the bracket. For the first question, everything inside the bracket, the minus 5, is being brought to the power of 0. This means the answer is going to be 1. But for part B, the minus is outside the bracket, which means that we're bringing 5 to the power of 0, and then we're going to put a minus in front of it. So for B, we get minus 1, or minus 5 to the power of 0. Take a look at these 3. They all look very hard, but if we break it down and know what a power of 0 is, we can work them out. For question A, we're going to look at 5 to the power of 0 plus 3 to the power of 0. 5 to the power of 0 is 1, and 3 to the power of 0 is 1. So the question is asking us to find 1 plus 1, which is 2. For part B, we have a bracket, and we should know that everything inside the bracket needs to be completed first. So 6 times 5 is 30, and then we need to bring that to the power of 0. 30 to the power of 0 is 1. Time for 6 times 5 to the power of 0. Now there is no bracket, so what I'm being asked to do is find what 6 times 5 to the power of 0 is. And 5 to the power of 0 is 1. 6 times 1 is 6. And that's how those 3 questions differ, even though they sort of look similar. So what should you write? I'd like a heading of powers of 0, as well as the rule, anything to the power of 0 equals 1. And then you can get those 3 examples written down. And that's it. Hopefully you know how to work with powers of 0, and that you can get along with the next exercise. Good luck.